Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia J, and I'm here with Ashley Nicole Moss.
Hello, everyone. I feel like we've been seeing a lot of everyone lately.
We have been.
So.
And I've been loving being live with everyone. I think it's so much fun, and thank you guys for being here. I know Ashley, it's a late night for Ashley. I'm on the West Coast,
As
so it's not
usual.
as late.
I know she says that coming from the West Coast, it's 8:30 at night. That's almost midnight over here, so I don't want to hear it.
No, but Ashley, I being on this coast and working with people on the East Coast, I have to wake up super early. Like I have the other opposite thing that happens.
That's
so
true.
I'm just saying, I mean, yes, it is great right now, but sometimes it's not as great. I'm just saying.
Sometimes it's not that great. But listen, what is great though, like Alicia said, all these live pods that we're doing, and we're going to keep them coming because we have a lot more coming your way, but you won't know that unless you follow us on social. Here are all our channels listed below, and make sure you're subscribed, notifications turned all the way up when it comes to YouTube, because that is how you will know when special edition episodes just like this one are happening. And if you're someone who needs to digest college basketball and sleep on it and gather their thoughts, and you want to listen to us the next day, we got you covered there too, because if you scan this QR code, you can listen to us wherever you get your pods. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple. So listen, there's no reason to not be tapped in with us right here at We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.
And listen, you definitely don't want to miss any of what we have coming your way, because we're going to have so many shows as we go into the Final Four. But today we're here to recap the Elite Eight and talk about these amazing games that we just saw. I mean, literally just saw one of them. So let's just do a little recap of who won and who lost. South Carolina won over Duke 54-50. UCLA over LSU 72-65. Texas beat TCU today 58-47, and UConn over USC 78-64. I mean, we saw some really good basketball games. Some heartbreaking moments for sure. Somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. But let's start with this Duke versus South Carolina game. Literally, Ashley, Duke really, in my opinion, had every opportunity to win this game. There were so many chances, but ultimately they just could not pull the game out and win the game. It was kind of hard to watch because I just kept saying, come on, it was like I was trying to will them to win because they had the opportunity to do so. I will say this though, let's just look at some of the stats. I mean, Duke lined up with 7.2 seconds left, expecting free throws as SC was inbounding after a timeout. I mean, on the flip side, South Carolina keeps doing what they need to do to win. They're like eking it out at this point, right? Their starters actually came through in a big way. We've talked about South Carolina being so deep as a team, and they are, but I would say the last couple of games, and specifically this game, they relied on their starters a lot to get this win. What are your thoughts, Ashley?
Yeah, I mean, Duke, I know the biggest thing, and one of our loyal subscribers, Abby Sports Picks and Analysis, literally pulled out exactly what I was going to say. This game was won, I feel like, and lost for Duke and South Carolina at the line. And when you're Duke, you are watching this film back. If you have watched it back, you're probably still in their feelings about this loss, as they should be. You are kicking yourself for missing those free throws. When you talk about free throws, you talk about the easiest part of the game, the part of the game that is the easiest to practice, the easiest to perfect. And a lot of coaches, I've had coaches that if you miss your free throws, you pay for it handsomely because it's something that is so easy to master. And it's such a pivotal part of any game. So if you're Duke, you are really upset. Obviously, there were other opportunities. It doesn't always come down to the free throw line, but I feel like in this situation, it absolutely did. There's no excuse to be as bad as at the line and miss some major clutch free throws the way Duke was. And for me, that is what made or break this game.
Well, and to your point, it was a relatively even battle in the other areas. South Carolina forced 19 turnovers, Duke forced 16. The Gamecocks had 14 points off of turnovers, and Duke had 9. South Carolina had 30 points in the paint. Duke had 24. So, and Duke out rebounded 41-30. So when you look at that even, matchup and you look at the free throws, I mean, that's a hard thing to digest if you're Duke
Yeah,
because
for sure.
yeah, and
Because
I'm sure
again, it's something that's so easy to correct and something that's so easy to make sure you do in the course of a game, that if, for that being the thing that really was the Achilles heel of this team in that particular game, it's super unfortunate if you're Duke.
yeah, definitely. And I know that they have to look at that and feel some kind of way and they're going
I
to
know I
be
would.
yeah, and I would hope that they would use that for fuel because they are a really good solid team. They have some players that I mean, we're going to talk about their standout freshman Fournier later. And so I mean, when you look at the pieces that they have, they got a squad and they just need to fine tune some things and that is definitely one of them for sure. But let's go into the UCLA versus LSU game. LSU, they definitely rallied back from as many as 14 in the third, to I think it was like a 3-point margin at some point, but they didn't end up winning. UCLA makes their first trip to the Final Four, and they get revenge on the Tigers from last season because they took
Mhm.
them out in the
Mhm.
last tournament. So, what was interesting for me this game was that Lauren Betts, I believe she was out for the whole second quarter, and they still, they had a lot of production from the rest of the players on their team. Um, I mean, she had a tourney low 17.7 rebounds and 6 blocks, but Jaquez, I mean, she stepped up to the plate with 18, 8, and 3 steals. Um, I mean, what I liked about that was it just shows that they are deeper than we think, and they can, capitalize even when their best player and arguably one of the best players in this tournament is not in. So that was something that I think is key moving into the Final Four is seeing that from this team.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I felt like UCLA was such an underdog, not because they don't have the talent, but I think that when you're in Southern California, it's always kind of been USC, 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 especially with Juju being there. Everyone's focused on that team, and rightfully so. Juju's a star, but I think everyone forgets the stars that exist in UCLA and outside of the stars, just how deep this team actually is, which is why I always thought that they were kind of underrated going into this tournament, because I think people focus on the top heavy aspect of UCLA, but don't realize how much talent is on that bench and how much talent may not have the big names and the star power as some of the other girls on the team. But I liked UCLA going into this matchup. And again, I think that this was going to be fun for a multitude of reasons. These teams have history. There's a lot of chatter. We spoke about this in the last pod going into this matchup. That always adds a level of excitement. But one thing we did say was that Lauren Betts was physically exhausted in that last matchup that UCLA found themselves in, and in the last round in the Elite Eight. And I'm sorry, in the Sweet 16 going into the Elite Eight. And she was physically exhausted. And we were talking about this in the recap, that it was going to take that other hidden talent on the bench to really fill the gap of what was possibly going to be a low scoring game from her. And lo and behold, she was held to a tourney low 17 points, 7 rebounds, 6 blocks. Very impressive stat line. Let's make sure we make
Oh,
that
for
clear.
sure. I'll
But
take
not,
that.
shoot, I would take that. I'd be in the league right now if that was my stat line in a tournament. Actually, no, I'm still too short. That's a different conversation. Anyway, but it wasn't what we expect from Lauren Betts, seeing how she's been playing throughout this whole tournament. And the UCLA Bruins stepped up, and I got to give them credit. That's exactly what they needed to do to advance. And speaking on that very thing, Kim Mulkey actually said, Betts did not beat us. We guarded her as tough as we could guard her. We did not take advantage of Betts being off the floor in the second quarter, and we allowed perimeter threes and other people to step up. But I will say, as I said before, they're not all about Betts. Betts is just a safety valve down there. When they get in trouble, she can score it at will. So there's a lot in that quote, but I will focus
Yeah.
on the part where she said other people stepped up, and that's what we needed from this UCLA team if they were going to beat LSU.
Yeah, and capitalizing when she was out too. That was one thing that I just could not
Right,
believe they did not capitalize
right.
on that, because when you have a player like Lauren Betts that is out, you better capitalize for that whatever period of time that is, and it was a whole quarter. And so she's not wrong when she says that. That is absolutely correct. But I do want to give a shout out to somebody on LSU. First of all, congratulations to the whole team for making it as far as they did. That is I don't care, what is expected being in the tournament and making that far.
Yeah.
Congratulations for that. But specifically for a player, Anissa Morrow,
Mm.
listen, she broke her nose in the game, okay? Broke her whole nose and came back and played the rest of the game and played well in the rest of the game and did not have a face mask on. I can't even imagine, number one, breaking your nose and playing right away, but then also not even protecting it. Like getting hit again
The
is
mask,
insane.
mask, yeah.
Yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. And so, but she finishes her amazing collegiate career with 1,714 rebounds, which is third most in D1 history. So, I mean, you have to, your hats have to go off to her. Finishing with over 100 double doubles, finishing with 104 specifically, and had 30 double doubles this year. So, got to give a shout out to Anissa Morrow, because you did that, girl, like
For
on
sure.
every level. I mean, my nose was hurt just thinking about it. I was just, I could not believe, especially going back in without any protection. That's wild, but
Right.
Also
Right.
an amazing career all the way around. And can't wait to see, where her career takes her next, because it's going to be great. And speaking of great, Texas had a great game and they won over TCU. The final was 58-47. Texas makes their first Final Four.
I just have something in my teeth, but keep talking.
Okay, let's get that. Let's get that. First Final Four since 2003.
All right, we're good.
Madison, you good now? You straight?
We're good. Live show, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, listen. If you got some in your teeth, you got to get it out. Period. So
yeah,
glad you took care of that. Madison Booker had 18 and 6. Rory Harmon had 13 and 5. And they led Texas to the win over TCU. It was hard to watch this because I felt like TCU ran out of gas.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to send them some energy.
Yeah.
Not just to help them, but it was just hard to see. It was collectively, they just didn't have it. HVL had spurts for sure, but just overall, I think the main culprit was they just ran out of energy. They ran out of gas.
Yeah, I agree. I think HVL specifically, and obviously she's been playing at such a high level, game in and game out, that to your point, it just fatigue. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about that when you're playing these games in such excuse me, in just such close proximity. There's not a lot of spacing between them, traveling in between, the rounds that require you to travel. And again, when you are HVL and so much of the responsibility is on your shoulders and you're playing at such a high level and you're doing it consistently, round in and round out and round in, your body just is like, yeah, I got nothing left to give you. And sometimes that just happens at the worst possible time. And for TCU, they went against a Texas team that they needed to be absolutely perfect. And if not perfect, just completely energized. And Texas just has too much firepower to play at anything other than 100%. And they just didn't have it. And that's the unfortunate reality when you're playing in a tournament like this.
It is. And I would say that Texas made them even more tired because their defense was so stellar. They were not letting anything happen. And it just, yeah. And it just, set them up to win the game in so many ways because they weren't letting TCU do anything. I mean, we could go down the line, but it was just really, it was a beautiful defensive game. They obviously had some great offense as well, no doubt. But they just tired them out even more with that stellar defense. So
yeah,
I mean, I mean, Texas, they did that. I personally am excited to see them play in the next round. Jordan also had a great game. I just have to throw that in there because I can't not. So, but regardless, Texas is going to the Final Four, and they're making history. Well, they haven't been there since 2003. And then also, I just want to say TCU, even though this game was rough on many levels, you guys made history for TCU. So congratulations to that. Actually, I do want to say something though. I saw that Sedona Prince actually has another year of eligibility.
That's lovely for them.
Well, I want to say she's 24 years old. And I think this would be, Emma, fact check me, but I think, so she's been here, since 2018.
Wait.
How many years would it be? 7? It would be 7 total years. Because I think it was a COVID year and 2 redshirt years.
I like college, but not that much.
That's too much college for me.
That's what I said. Okay. I like college. I love college, matter of fact. But I ain't love it that much, girl.
Yeah.
Come to the real world.
I just was like, wow, I cannot. Madison Booker or somebody on the Texas team was in 8th grade when Sedona was a freshman at Texas.
Yeah, no, that's too long to be in school. Absolutely.
Watch out.
Absolutely.
I saw that and I said, couldn't be me at all.
No, ma'am. Next.
Yeah.
Wait.
Well, yeah. But let's look at this game that just happened. I'm sure everybody who's on here just watched it too. UConn versus USC. The final was 78-64. And yes, Sarah Strong, UConn is in great hands. Absolutely. Sarah Strong is so fantastic as a player. When you watch her, I mean, I know for me, I'm like, first of all, how is she just a freshman? There ain't no way. It's like she definitely has played here somewhere before in another life because she has skills.
Yeah.
But she's also just an all around amazing player. Mm-hmm. I mean, she can pass. She can get to the basket. I mean, she could play I really believe she could play every single position, and she's just good. Sarah Strong is just a good player. And she also has ice in her veins. It feels like she's never pressured at all either when I watch her. Definitely, I mean, if this is her freshman year, sorry, I'm going on a Sarah Strong tangent, but if this is her freshman year, I mean, I can't even imagine what we're about to see, in the coming years. So definitely going to be a generational player. I think Rebecca Lobo actually said that a WNBA GM told her this season that if Sarah Strong was in the draft this year, she'd be a lottery pick. And I believe that. But definitely a great game for her. Finished with 22 points, 16 rebounds, 12 double-doubles as most by any UConn freshman in the past 25 seasons. And then Paige, I mean, what do you think about Paige today? Ashley, she is just rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I think that UConn is in a great position because obviously losing Paige to the draft is going to be hard, right? But when you have someone like Sarah Strong who's ready to take the lead and take the reins of this program, you kind of wonder, like, can UConn, if they win the whole thing this season, can they make it back in the next tournament on the back of Sarah Strong this time? Can she be what Paige has been for the Huskies, her entire collegiate career? Is it just going to kind of roll into the next player? Only time will tell. But from what we have seen from Sarah Strong throughout the regular and now the postseason, I believe it's a strong possibility, no pun intended. I know. I think it can be a really strong possibility. Again, only time will tell. I'm not going to put the jinx on her, but Paige, man, I feel like sometimes I would get tired of just talking about Paige and celebrating Paige and just being a Paige stan and just being in awe of what she does on the court. But I'm not. Every time there's a game that happens and she has a stat line like this, 31 points, 4 of 7 from the 3, 6 assists, third on the UConn scoring list now behind Fee, and just trails Maya Moore and Stewie. I mean, talk about the company that she is in. I'm just so in awe. I'm going to miss watching her play in college just because it's a different level of tenacity. There's a different level of just excitement. I feel like the collegiate game brings that you lose sometimes in the pros because it's such a business also. But I don't know. I'm excited to see her in the W, man. She's gonna be great. These next couple of drafts for the W are gonna be fantastic. So yeah, we're gonna talk about it later, but I'm shifting towards UConn.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that for sure. But one thing about it that when I see Paige and the way she's playing and the way that, overall UConn is playing, I just can't help but to be excited because, she has never gotten a championship with UConn in all of the years that she's been there. And she's not had it easy. She is a star for sure. And when you talk about generational talent, that she is as well. I think people are throwing that around a bit too much, but with her, it is true.
Yeah.
And so when you see the way that she's playing now, the way that UConn is playing now, with Sarah Strong, AZ Fudd, even though she did have a little, her game was a little up and down today. But when you look at the team as a whole and how they're playing, I just can't help but to be excited because, if you wanted to build how you wanted Paige's story to end, this is what you would want it to in college. This is what you would kind of want it to look like.
We still got one more game.
No, we got two more games. But I'm
sorry.
saying just the progression and like where they're at now.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I'm not speaking, too early. I know that there's two more games, but I'm just saying the way that it's looking, I just love the way that it's unfolding in the tournament for UConn and for Paige specifically.
And obviously we don't have to put too much time on it, but I do, and I know we both want to give a quick shout out to USC. Obviously it's been rocky for them since Juju went out with her very unfortunate injury, and they've been fighting, and they hit a wall tonight against UConn, and that's nothing to hang your head low against. They had their best player on the floor. You were without yours. And I think considering the adversity that this team has had to face and had to still put on a brave face and go out there and compete, even in the exact game that they lost their star player and were able to, crank out that win, the next round, crank out that win. That is a great program. I know that the fans can't wait to get Juju back. And trust me, this would have been a drastically different game if Juju Watkins was on the floor. We could be having a drastically different conversation. But Juju's star is so bright, and we just wish her the speediest, healthiest recovery, because I know we are all looking forward to having this conversation next year, but talking about a USC win against whoever it is that they face. So,
and obviously Juju, we send our love, our prayers, and all of that to you. And I know that she would obviously rather be on the court, but I know she's proud of the way that her teammates have played and how they stepped up, given the circumstances that they were in this year. They should definitely not hang their heads low. They should hang them high, because it's phenomenal what they did, especially with Juju, being out. So, USC, nothing but big things on the way for them for sure. And, we're just sending all of our healing and everything to Juju. I don't know if you saw the video, Ashley. There were some little girls who said that they would give Juju their knees if they could.
I give Juju my knee.
And listen, right now, if you need it, it's here. I don't know if you want my right knee, but maybe my left one.
Yeah, I need it back, but you can have it for the tournament.
Yeah, but it just like broke my heart, but it also warmed my heart to see what her representation means to so many girls out there, and me including. Shoot, I mean, she has been an inspiration to me. So
absolutely.
Quick healing for you, Juju. But some other news that we definitely wanted to talk about today that happened in college was Olivia Miles is reportedly entering the transfer portal. So a lot of people were wondering if she was going to declare for the draft. So that was kind of like the question that was up. And, nobody would have been kind of shocked whether she was or she wasn't, right? Like, but entering the transfer portal is what people were like shocked about. What were your thoughts when you saw this, Ashley?
Definitely was shocked. I can understand it from a business aspect. I don't know who's in her circle, who's advising her, but The CBA, remember, we're constantly talking about it on this show. And this is the last year, this 2025 season is the last year of the current CBA. And then negotiations, hopefully reach a point where a new CBA can be signed. If not, then we're having a different conversation. But if all goes according to plan, by 2026, the W will have a new CBA, which means more money for the players and all the other things that they are looking to accomplish in their new CBA. So if you are an agent, a manager, if you're on the team of someone who is draft eligible this season or eligible to still remain in school, you're probably telling them to weigh their options in the collegiate aspect of things, because if they wait another year, again, everything going according to plan, fingers crossed, there will be a lot more money for these rookies to make. There'll be a lot more ownership in terms of just equity from revenue from jersey sales and the media rights and each and everything that kind of goes into the business of basketball. And if you are going to the draft this year, depending on what pick you are, depending on what your deal looks like, but overall speaking, we can agree that they won't sign for as much money as the 2026 draftees will. And it'll be a little bit trickier for them to kind of work that around or outside of their contract if they sign this year. So I'm looking at it from a business perspective. I think for her, staying in school, wherever that may be, whatever program that may be, it's probably an ideal situation. It's definitely not going to hurt her, especially, when you talk dollars and cents, it's not going to hurt her at all.
Definitely not going to hurt her. And I feel like I get that completely. And I think it's smart to be strategic like that when there's going to be a whole new contract situation coming up. There's going to be some change. We know that.
The Notre Dame thing was weird though.
That's the part that got me. I would never in a million years think that she would enter the portal.
Yeah.
Stay there, yes, but not enter the portal. So I'm sure as this story develops,
considering the run Notre Dame, yes, it definitely was rocky and it didn't develop into what I think a lot of us thought that it was going to, which would be a Final Four appearance, an Elite Eight appearance, or even a championship. It's still Notre Dame, it's still one of the best programs in the country. So that was a little like, what's going on there?
And honestly, I have to look at their roster, but I don't think they're having like too much major movement in players coming up,
which is beneficial.
And so it's beneficial. And you really only, if you look at the squad and you look at the team and kind of the success that they had, especially in the regular season, it's like literally you just need maybe like one or two pieces, maybe even one major piece coming in to the program. And to the point of, can you put that back up, Emma? But to the point of Ball for Real, where would she even build her brand at bigger than at Notre Dame, with Hannah? Like, where are you going? So that's the part that was just so perplexing to me when I saw it. I said, wait,
there might be another shoe that drops eventually. But if there's not, only time will tell, especially when she lands wherever she lands. We can probably expect that question to be asked at some point, and we may get that answer at some point. So we will keep our ears and eyes open for that. And one thing we're going to always keep our ears and eyes open for, sorry, y'all, it's 12 a.m., bear with me, are the double standards when it comes to women and men in the world of sports, and honestly just in life. But we don't have time to dive into all the life double standards for men and women. This is a sports podcast, so we're going to focus on just the sports aspect. The other stuff is a podcast for a different day. Now we're all familiar with Kim Mulkey, her style, the things that come out of her mouth, for better or for worse. You either love her, you hate her, you're somewhere in the middle, or it changes from day to day. But she's catching some heat for the way she spoke to a student reporter following the team's Elite Eight loss. asking the reporter, how many Final Fours did you play in response to a question about the team's back-to-back Elite Eight exits. But the response to her supposed rudeness, I'm putting that in air quotes for people who are listening and not watching, warrants the question, if she were a man, would she still be talked about this way? Now, to give people a little bit more context, she's at the podium. She says this. The room kind of chuckled. So it's not like people were uncomfortable with what she said. And she then followed up like, I would say it's pretty good, that we've done pretty well to get to the Elite Eight multiple times. A lot of teams can't do that. A lot of people can't do that. How many have you played in? So it's not like it was something so egregiously disrespectful that we need to have this like TED talk about it. I've seen guys, I've been in pressers post NBA games, way worse, way more contentious. I've seen coaches leave the podium. I've seen coaches get into screaming matches with reporters once the cameras are no longer going. I've seen players walk out of podiums. I've seen players press reporters and beat writers and things like that. So my thing is for me, that wasn't rude. It was tongue in cheek. It was a little sarcastic. It was maybe had a little bit of sauce, some spice to it. But when I listened to it, the room chuckled. He was like, well, none. And she continued to explain why she stood by her team and why she said, like, it wasn't rude. And the conversation and what we have seen from people in the media about how they've reacted to this, I know you guys have seen men in all sports do way worse, say way worse, act way worse, and continue to be worse days after a certain incident has transpired, and milk it and talk about it and talk about it here and talk about it there. Stop. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. My thing is like, if you're going to have an issue with that, have an issue with it across the board. Don't pick and choose. And y'all got me up here defending Kim like she's my favorite person in the world. But what we're not going to do is hold a woman to a different standard than we're going to hold a man. That was not rude. Everyone's being sensitive. It's sports. Relax. Calm down.
Well, and I agree. And I would also say that a lot of the people who had something to say and were the loudest today are the rudest in what they do as well.
Right.
So let's be clear. Like you can't hold somebody to a standard that you don't hold yourself to. That was one of my biggest things about this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right. I don't really have a lot to add besides there is a double standard. And that's just facts. I don't know. That's it. That's all. I mean, drop the mic.
The basis of that entire Nike commercial that we see Jordan Childs and Caitlin Clark and like all these other athletes where it says, they tell you not to be loud anyway. They tell you not to be ambitious, be ambitious anyway. And it kind of reminds me, did you see the Barbie movie? I'm pivoting, but it'll make sense. Bear with me.
I did.
Okay. You know the scene in the Barbie movie where America Ferrera is giving that speech about what it means to be a woman and how like she basically says, this is after like Barbie loses like her Barbie-ness and they're trying to get it back because the Kens have taken over Barbie land. And she's basically like, you're either too skinny, you're too fat, you're too ambitious, you're not ambitious enough, you're too submissive, you're too like with women, you can never please people. Like you have to be everything, but not too much of one thing, because then God forbid you are somebody who chooses her career over her family. Then you're an evil witch. If you choose your family over your career, then you're back in the 1950s. If you stand up for yourself, you're difficult to work with. If you don't stand up for yourself, you get pushed over. Like, what do you people want from us? Like, I need you to just tell us, what is it that you want? I'm so tired of, and it's men constantly telling us how we should be, act, how we should speak, when we should speak, what tone we should speak in. But they can just run amok and do whatever, act however, and just like the world's supposed to deal with it. But God forbid a coach stands up for her team, gives a little bit of a snarky remark. And don't get me wrong, I don't agree with, I think there's a line. I think the media is there to do their job. Reporters deserve to be respected. Being a beat reporter, being a reporter in those rooms is not easy. You get the brunt of a lot of people's bad days. I'm not saying it's an easy job. I don't envy those people. My hat is off to them. That was not that. That was not a situation where we need to put the cape on for that guy. That was not it.
Well, do you think, because this is a question I had, and I'm not giving anyone a pass because I agree
Yeah.
with what you're saying. Do you think it was because he was a student reporter too? Because a lot of people, I feel like, jumped in because of this student, the title of student. Like, they were thinking in their head, like, child, student, somebody who
I
was,
mean,
and I'm not giving a pass. I'm just saying I
no,
feel like a
yeah.
lot of people jumped on because of that.
I mean, it's LSU. You gotta be at least 18 to be there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're an adult. You're not like an adult. You're not like a 40-year-old
Right.
adult. But it's not like she said this to a room of middle schoolers. Like, this is
Right.
college. You know
And
what I mean? Like,
I'm gonna keep it real. I didn't even think it was that bad. I don't even know. Like, there wasn't anything.
the room left.
Yeah, she literally was just. I don't know. I didn't think it was bad for me
And she
personally.
kind of said
I'm,
it. Like, I wish we could play the clip, but she kind of said it with, like, she had a semi smile, and then she took a sip of her whatever she was drinking, and then she said, I would say that's pretty good, right? Like, we've been there multiple times. Like, you can't
right.
be bounced if you don't get there. Like, it wasn't. Stop it. There's deeper issues that people should probably use their rawness to defend, and this ain't one of them. Like,
Yeah.
stop it.
Well, I'm sure that we're definitely going to be talking about something like this in the future because
For
unfortunately it
real.
never stops. It never stops. Um, but there's something that we do every week that we have to do right now, Ashley. And that is Connecting Changes Everything, presented by AT&T. So this week, we are connecting you with a freshman at Duke that we
Mm.
think everybody needs to be aware of. If they aren't, if you've been under a rock and have not seen her, we definitely want to connect you with a player that has literally the potential to become a cornerstone of the women's college game. Okay, so Duke, yeah, they lost. And, we already talked about that. We already recapped that for sure. But freshman Toby Fournier, such a standout and definitely made her mark in this tournament. She's one of many freshmen that have literally been balling out and showing up in this tournament and led the Blue Devils in scoring all season long. So she, just in case you don't know about her, she's 6'2" and is the third
Oh.
tallest on Duke's roster. She gained attention, and this, if you are on social, you probably saw this, but she was dunking at age 14 in like these monster crazy dunks. And so she went viral for that when she was 14. And she does dunks in pregame warmups at Duke. So I would love to see a dunk in a game. I think we will. I think that's in the future for her for sure. She averaged 13.4 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 1.1 blocks coming off the bench also. So she per CBB Analytics, she converts 67.7% of her shots at the rim and is 83rd percentile in D1. So ranked number 10 in the 2024 recruiting class, became the first Blue Devil to win ACC Freshman of the Year since 2012. And I would say, like, I was kind of shocked that she started playing basketball. And this seems like it's young, but it really isn't in basketball. She started playing at 13. So really, she's
Sure.
still coming into herself as a player. And she has such amazing natural ability. But I mean, she's just getting better, every single day as a player. And I think the sky is the limit for her. When she was not on the court in the final seconds of the game, South Carolina's Fagan said, I actually was surprised because she was killing us in the paint. Why wasn't she there? So,
Mhm.
yeah. And then guard Vanessa De Jesus said she has a relentlessness that you can't teach. The way she drives, the way she goes after the ball, and her athletic ability overall, it's God-given stuff. But when you match that with her work ethic, it's an unmatched pairing. So with all of that in tow, just cannot wait to see what she does. I mean, she's already made her mark in so many ways, and she's going to continue to do so. So looking forward to seeing what she does in her college career and beyond.
Absolutely. And I love her name. I love girls with unisex names. Like I knew this girl once, her name was Charlie. I thought that was so cute. Such a cute name.
Charlie is a cute name indeed.
I love unisex names like that. Like Charlie, Toby is cute. There's a few others that I can't think of off the top of my head, but there's a few. Dylan, super cute. Like
that is cute.
But I love a good unisex name. So
I actually have a unisex. Yeah, I have a unisex name picked out for my future child.
Don't tell anybody.
I'm not.
Steal baby names.
I promise you I won't. Because nobody is about to steal this name.
Yes. It makes me think of that Sex and the City episode where they go to that baby shower in Long Island and the girl tells the girls tells Charlotte what her baby's name is. And Charlotte's like, you stole my baby name. And like, don't tell her name. Don't tell
And then she tried to play it off like she didn't steal it, but she really did.
I know people who steal dog names. Yeah. Like if someone will steal the name of your dog, they will steal the name of your baby. So keep that to yourself.
Oh, I am.
Yes. Smart move. And speaking of move, it is time for the Final Four preview. I can't believe this tournament has come and gone-ish. This quickly, we're already at the Final Four. I cannot believe it. I feel like just yesterday we were watching 8 hours of nonstop college basketball, but we are set to the Final Four, and it is South Carolina, Texas, UCLA, and UConn. And they are all set to face off in Tampa. With the addition of Texas and UConn, interestingly, this is the Final Four. South Carolina and the only 3 teams to beat the Gamecocks in the last 2 years. So the other 3 opponents in this Final Four are the only teams to hand South Carolina their L's in the last 2 years. So South Carolina is either going to get their lick back or they're going to take another L to a team they already lost to. But we're going to look at this matchup here, and that is South Carolina versus Texas. This is the 4th matchup between these 2 teams this season. The first matchup was won by South Carolina by 17 points. Second was a lot closer, Texas by 4 points. Then in the SEC tournament game, South Carolina, once again, double digits, beat Texas by 19 points. Super lopsided when you look at the last 3 matchups between these teams. They were either blowouts or a really close game. So from South Carolina, what you're looking at, what they kind of need to do is their 3-point shot has struggled a bit, and they were just 3 of 8 against Duke, 4 of 15 against Maryland, and they got to clean up those turnovers. We joke about it, but we know Dawn Staley is cursing them out in that locker room to hold on to the basketball. And Alicia, you mentioned it, Texas's defense, nothing to play with. They will make you turn that ball over if you are not securing that basketball. And when we talk about Texas, one thing they need to do is kind of figure out how to maneuver in the paint and stop South Carolina from flourishing in the paint, because that is their bread and butter. And speaking of their defense that you highlighted earlier, force those turnovers, make South Carolina turn that ball over and convert on those turnovers. So looking at how the last 3 matchups have gone, when South Carolina won, double digits. When Texas won, a lot closer of a game. Who are you leaning towards, and what does that game look like to you?
This is so hard. All of these teams really, to be honest, could win the chip in different ways. It's just about how they step up. South Carolina needs to, the depth that they've had all season, right? The depth that they've had from their bench and everything, it needs to be locked in and loaded for this next game, because in the last game especially, it wasn't. And so they need to go back to that form of play where they can call on anyone and they can step up and not take, bad shots and those types of things. They need that from South Carolina moving forward. Also, South Carolina has amazing defense as well. It's going to be one of those games where, it's really called by
Mhm.
who is playing defense better. And so
Mhm.
I'm really excited to watch it, especially after the way that Texas played defense today. They were not
Mhm.
letting anything happen on that court. And so, man, this one is hard. I think if South Carolina steps up and plays like the team that they are instead of just playing and being good,
Mhm.
they'll win. But Texas, they kind of in the ways that they've matched up with them, they've
Mhm.
kind of seen what they can and shouldn't do, and it's kind of been a way for them to get ready in the utmost for this game.
Mhm.
So I don't know, like it's hard for me to pick who wins this because I think South Carolina has the talent that
Mhm.
should win this game, but it's really going to be about grit and will. And based on what I saw from the two, I would lean towards Texas.
I'm with you. I'm leaning towards Texas as well. Again, you know how much I love defense, but also I feel like South Carolina hasn't been playing like South Carolina, and I feel like eventually that's going to catch up to them. You can't keep skating by the skin of your teeth and hoping for your opponent to bail you out of a situation you put yourself in. And this is not a knock. South Carolina, phenomenal team. We all know that. We all agree with that. But I think Texas is just as good, and they've been way more consistent. And I think that combination is going to make things a little sticky for South Carolina. And if South Carolina does not play the way that they played the seasons that they have won championships, Texas will absolutely take advantage. And I don't think South Carolina is going to be able to get themselves out of the hole that they'll dig themselves in if they play the way they've been playing. So I'm with you. I'm leaning towards Texas. We're gonna switch now to a game this is my premier game. You were talking about your popcorn game. This is my popcorn game. UCLA versus UConn. Last matchup was in 2023. UCLA won that one. Kiki Rice had 24 points, 11 rebounds, double. What UConn needs to do, you just gotta let Paige cook. Let's be honest. Let Paige cook and let Sarah Strong maybe potentially lock down Lauren Betts if she can. Now, it's gonna not completely solve the UCLA problem. We talked about how deep that they are and how deep they are, how that has gone under the radar, I feel like, by a lot of people. Now you know. I think what UCLA needs to do is utilize their size, dominate in the paint, and hopefully Lauren Betts gets a nice rest, a couple of days of rest leading up, because she's going to have to be Lauren Betts that we know she can be, and not the Lauren Betts she was in this last game because she was exhausted. And again, very impressive stat line for someone who's exhausted, but it's not what we're used to seeing from her. This one's a little harder to call. Abby Sports Picks and Analysis says Betts is a handful. Good luck. Respect. This is true.
Real
It might
talk.
be an understatement. This one's a little hard for me to call. I mean, which way are you leaning towards, Alicia? I think my gut wants to say UConn. My gut's telling me don't go against Paige. She's on a heater. But UCLA has a team that I might go Huskies. What are you leaning towards?
I will say I think it is a beautiful thing that we're having such a hard time picking because that means we're going to have some fantastic basketball coming up.
Yeah.
But last game with
Uh-huh.
Betts out and the team stepping up in the way that they did,
Yes.
and seeing that, and them also, this is more important, is them knowing that they can do that,
Mhm.
especially at this stage in the season and in the tournament.
Mhm.
Betts has to stay out of foul trouble, and she has to literally have her most stellar game. But I am leaning towards UCLA, just
Okay.
seeing the team play that they did, because UConn they are rolling, and I would love to see them advance. This is another
Mhm.
one of those ones where I would love to
Mhm.
see them advance. But
Mhm.
based on the play and the two games that we saw, I am leaning ever so slightly to UCLA.
I'm not mad at that pick. Listen, the Final Four is going down in Tampa. We're going to prematurely pick a champion. Now, I'm going to sidestep it just a tad. I'm going to pick, but not pick quite yet. I will say this, though. The national champion will be the winner of UCLA UConn, the national champions in that game. I know that much. I don't know who yet it's going to be. I'm going to give my finalized prediction once we have that matchup set, but I know this much. The champions in that matchup.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm not going to say it either, even though Emma really wants us to say it.
I know. Emma's trying to set us up for failure, but I know it's either UConn or it's UCLA. One of those two is a champion.
Yeah, no. And I mean, it's so hard because this year has been so fantastic, and these teams are so amazing for different reasons.
Yeah.
And we're seeing them step up in different ways every single night. But I just feel like that UConn UCLA game is definitely going to produce, like you said, the champion this year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whoever wins that is winning the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's where the champion is. So we'll see.
Did we have any predictions, Emma? Did anybody predict in the comments? I'm just very curious. UConn is the favorite to win. Okay, Chicago Cheetah. Ain't nobody beating UConn, okay?
I'm not mad at. Are you from the Connecticut area?
Nobody's stopping Paige. Now, that's actually just a true statement, regardless of if they win or not. Nobody's stopping Paige. That's true. So.
Yeah. I want to see how Barker does versus Strong.
Well, we're definitely about to see it. UConn is winning it. Well, shoot. They calling us a lie over here. They saying UConn about to win the whole thing.
I'm going to say this, though. I think we both agree on that. The winner is in that game. That's true.
We're in the same vein. We're in the same vein. Yes.
I will say, though, before we close out, what are you most excited about with this year's Final Four? Besides it being in Tampa, because no shade, but Tampa was the last one. Cleveland? I mean, just saying.
That right there in itself is just a post.
I'm just saying.
You just did.
I always think of that viral Cleveland. You ever heard someone say they're going to Cleveland on vacation? Do you like
but
it?
Actually, really, when you're cool? There, you're in the gym, Ashley. It doesn't matter.
I don't care if I was in an ice cream factory. It's Cleveland. No shade, but it's Cleveland.
Well, I'll tell you,
outside of Tampa.
Yes. Outside of Tampa, I'm excited for a couple of things. One is this is the first time we're going to have a show from we're going to have a show for the first time.
Yes.
From the women's Final Four. So that I'm excited about. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Really excited about that. But I'm just excited to see some great basketball. And if in person, seeing Paige play in this tournament at this time, that's on your bucket list, right? If you're a fan of basketball, period, that's on your bucket list. And then obviously seeing Jordan play in the Final Four, because I have a personal tie. I'm excited about that. Now, as far as like who I think should pull up, everyone should be pull up to the women's Final Four. But I really want to see a lot of the WNBA players pull up. That was fun last year. I'd love to see.
The UConn loyals gonna be out there.
Yeah, everybody. That's gonna be stacked for sure.
I would like to see Brady. That's his old stomping grounds. Tampa Bay area, obviously. And he obviously is a part owner of the Aces, so he has a hand in the women's game. So he could be out there maybe recruiting, looking around, doing some things. But I would love to see Brady, like you said, a lot of WNBA players.
Well, Fee, Stewie, hopefully Maya Moore. Why are you doing a thumbs down right now, Ashley?
I think they thumbs down Brady. Maybe that was what they were thumbing. Maybe they're Giants fans. Yeah, I think it's gonna listen. Tampa's a very cool destination. The weather's gonna be really nice. It's not that far from Miami, so if you want to just go watch a game and then go party in Miami, you can do that. So yeah, I expect there to be a nice showing of people who are gonna make their way, and I think that these four teams, I actually don't know if this. Well, I think Kevin Durant's out for a week, so he's a Texas alum. Maybe he'll pull
Yeah.
up. He's not playing. He has a week off. Well, not a week off, but he's out with an injury for a week from the Suns. So maybe he can make it out to a game.
Well, and he's a huge supporter of, I mean, Texas, Texas basketball in general, but especially
Yeah,
the women. Like he shouts them
yeah,
out all the time. So it'd be great to see
yeah.
him there for sure.
So it would be cool. I think that again, the destination makes it desirable for a lot of people. Emma said Flavor Flav. We all know Flavor Flav loves women's sports.
He
I
does.
expect to see Serena and her husband out there maybe for a game. They actually live in Jupiter, I believe, which is not that far from Tampa. So it'd be an easy ride over for them or fly over. It'd be a little bit of a far drive. But I think it's going to be, we're going to see a lot of cool faces out there. I hope so.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a good time for sure. Looking forward to it on all levels. And like I said, make sure that you're subscribed because you need to get all of these alerts for these shows that are coming at you, especially the ones coming from the women's Final Four in Tampa. So be connected, stay connected in all of these ways. And we're going to have a QR code right after the episode that you can scan that will get you directly to everywhere you need to be to connect with us. So listen, if you haven't connected with us, I don't know what you're doing because you don't want to miss any of the We Need to Talk Now presented by AT&T that is coming up at the Women's Final Four in Tampa. So stay tuned because we're coming at you. Subscribe.